Welcome to Mondays Learn with BeautySlesh, where every Monday I post new tutorials for microblading, shading, and hair stroke with machine procedures. Although I haven't posted last Mondays, it's just because I was busy with my offline courses. But hopefully now we are back to every Monday's tutorial. So for this Monday, I am ready to share my top secrets how you can improve your microblading and what you should actually really focus on when you are doing microblading. So pay attention, take the notes, and implement this in your procedure. And for today's week, I want to give a shout out to a good comment from my last video. Thank you so much for this comment, and if you want to be featured in my weekly tutorials, you can leave your comment with your Instagram profile on it, so we can share not only your comment but also your profile, so everybody else can go and follow you. Okay, with this being said, let's get into a tutorial. So okay guys, I'm going to share with you really good tips that you should try with your microblading, and you will see how good your retention will be. So the first tip, because of this blade, and I'm recommending to use the U blade, the trick is if you are microblading perpendicular to the skin like this, do you see it? You can't really microblade nicely. But if you lean your blade, the tip of this blade will actually microblade really nicely, so you can see it actually flow under your fingers. This is the first tip. The second tip, if you want to your pigment distributed throughout the whole cut, let me actually show you. So usually you would do your stroke this way, but in some cases the ink cannot reach this area because it's already been disappeared throughout the whole cut. So what I suggest is to do it partially, 1 and then 2. Now the second tip is, and I was talking about this and I had a question in my BeautySlesh group. I had a question, how to do the second path. Why do I do second path right after the first path? So my first path looks like this. So I do the cuts, after I finish, for instance, let's say I finish this section, I actually already rub the pigment inside because the skin is still open. And it takes about, I'm not sure how long will it take for the skin to close, but I think it's the matter of minutes or seconds. So once it's still open, I wrap the pigment inside, and I can go ahead and continue doing my pattern while this section is under the pigment, rubbing the pigment inside the strokes. Now, after I finish this section, I do the same. After the section being soaked under the pigment, I go back to the section. I wipe this off. By the way, if I suggest to use the Vaseline or the makeup remover if you're practicing on your fake skin. So I wipe this off. And I still am using the dry tissue, the dry cotton tissue, because if you wipe this right now with the wet tissue, you're still diluting the pigment. It's still fresh. So it's not like we went to this side and we are coming back. No, it's still fresh. And then I go ahead, it's still, I think the skin at this point is still fresh, it's still open. And I go ahead and I put the pigment inside. And why this is easier than going to this side and coming back and doing this side again is because it's still open, right? So if I place my blade inside, I feel like I would say the hole, and it actually will guide me where to slide my tool because I feel this hole under my fingers. And this way there's a less chance I will create double unnecessary strokes. So we have to really put the blade inside and slide through this hole that well. So you can compare actually right now. You can compare. This one was inserted twice the pigment, this is once. So you can see this is really not enough pigment, it will heal really light and it will heal patchy. So there will be like a dots, not a complete stroke, but like a dots. But with a new microblading way, new microblading technique with the right implementation of the pigment, you will not see the dots. You will see a really complete stroke after even the first procedure. So this is really important. Now, the second tip, depending on the needle you are using, you have to use a really thin needle. If you're using a thick needle, and I again was saying this many times, you are scarring the skin and it heals blurry, heals thick, and you do have to keep a distance between strokes. If you're using a thin needles, you can get a really nice pattern. It will just look clean when it healed. So remember, for your microblading, it's not a random pattern. It should be a well practiced pattern with even, remember, with even distance between hair strokes. Also, when you're doing microblading, you never rush with microblading. It's not this speed. It's literally this speed. 1, 2, 3. The same with implementation of the insertion of the pigment. It's even slower actually. 1, 2. Because you have to really see where you are putting your ink so you do not create a double strokes. Do you see how slow I do this? And I don't want to speed up this video because I want to really make you understand the proper speed and how precise and accurate this is, the better. Now the depth of the microblading. Again, my needles, they are super thin and they are really fine. So you don't have to do any pressure. It just literally like feels like this fake skin, like you're doing it on the fake skin. The same will be on your client. You just nicely, lightly sliding it through. You do not cut. It just simply lightest pressure will be enough. The really good tip, if you're doing this first time, you take pictures of every section of your brow, and on your touch up you compare every section, every stroke with the healed result, and you learn from this. It's really a good tip. This is something I do right now. You not only take picture like this, you actually stretch the skin a little bit to see what is the size of the cut, how many ink is inside. So you stretch the section, you take the picture, and you see the healed result and compare it. On my offline class, it's really common problem with students when they are starting out. First of all, of course, you do not know how to hold the tool and it's a bit shaky, especially if you're working with the real skin. All these curvy strokes are the worst for the students. They simply do not know how to curve your tool. This is something definitely takes with experience of daily practicing of doing the curvy strokes. But a good tip would be, if you're working with the skin, you don't really have to rotate your tool. You can rotate the skin under you with these 2 fingers. You can stretch the skin in that way so it becomes like a straight line. But actually, if you release these 2 fingers, it will go back to the round skin. And I use this technique not only with microblading, but with hair stroke with machine as well, because especially for the hair stroke with machine, it's really hard to draw the curvy strokes. So what I do is I stretch my skin in that manner that it becomes a straight line. And this way I can really nicely microblade my stroke. So these are the powerful tips. I hope you guys understood this. And just to sum up, first, how do we insert the pigment in our first path? We can do either the complete stroke, or we can do the stroke into 2 sections, 1 and 2, just sliding the pigment throughout the whole cut. This is specifically good for these big strokes as here. Now, once you do 1 section, you can immediately rub the pigment inside and let it soak, and you can continue drawing your other section. So section by section, you can rub the ink inside. Wait about 5 to 10 minutes Take everything out with your dry tissue. If it's a real mess, you can use the wet tissue, it's fine, but better dry tissue. You can go ahead and place your second path right away. So you're not doing the second brow, you're still on your first eyebrow. So you place the pigment, slide the pigment through the cut several times, through each cut. Make sure you're not creating the double strokes. And then after you finish this, you are good to go to this side of the brow. After you finish your third pass, you again rub the pigment inside and you go to this side. Let me know if you use this trick already with the second path, if you like it or not. Also let me know.